Layne Staley. I've been excited for this one, and I know many of you have been too. He's on my top list of favorite rock singers, and for many years, he confused me when I'd listen to him and try to take inspiration from him and put some of what he does in my own voice. Because he has this way of being so subdued, sounding and coming across as so relaxed, and at the same time, being able to kick it in and be aggressive and be gritty and fit perfectly what he's doing musically, what the rest of the band is doing musically. And when I'd cover an Alice in Chains song or sing lines here and there, I started to realize that I was being way too aggressive in trying to emulate some of the sounds that I was hearing. And this is where we need to do a check before we get into singing like Layne Staley, especially with him, because he's confusing and he's a study in contrasts in many ways. We need to remember that we're not trying to sound like him. We're trying to inject, using inspiration from him, inject some of the things that he does and ways he sings into our own voice and then make it our own. If we try to go down the path of imitating him, we're actually going to miss it altogether. And that's true with a lot of vocalists, certainly a lot of vocalists that I have done on this channel, but it's especially true for Layne. So with that in mind, let's get started. My first several examples are from Rooster. What an amazing song, and it showcases the wide variety of Layne's vocals in a really cool way. Here's the first one. I'm going to talk about the high part and not Jerry's harmony that goes below it. Pure head voice. There's not a lot of rasp there. He's got good chord closure. And even in this example, he sounds lazy, but what's actually being sung, there's a lot of articulation going there, and it's pretty high. So in order to do this, you need a well-supported head voice. And before we go any further, this example and the rest of them, if you're trying to sing along with some of these examples, but don't feel like you have your basic foundational singing techniques under your belt, be sure to join my free singing course linked below. And if you find that you want to take some of this stuff further, you'll also find a lot to work on in the free course. Let's talk about those dips. Right here. There's not a pitch that he's going down to. This is a great exercise in vocal agility. I consider these to be a form of what I call throwing the voice. And you can do that up or down. Where you're almost bouncing your voice box, if you think about it that way. That'll help you in cases like this. Because I think sometimes we tighten up and we try to articulate by constricting some of our muscles, when really the act is more, should be thought more of as freeing your muscles. Great, pure sounding head voice. Next example. This is where we get to study Layne's tone, sort of the foundation of his lower chest contemplative sound. But there's a lot of pent-up energy there. Notice how far behind the beat he's singing. That's part of that lazy sound, and he's so good at he's just singing, but that's what gives Alice in Chains that lurchy, or one of the things that gives Alice in Chains that lurchy, icky, wonderful sound, right? He's playing that beat so well. And let's talk about his tone a little here too. Leads. Now, he's using a certain larynx position. He's using some vocal compression. Now, here's the first area we want to be careful that we're not overdoing it to try to sound like him. We're not trying to sound like him. We're trying to sing like him. Get the essence of what we're doing here. It's not leads me to nowhere. It's not completely open sounding. His larynx is up a little bit, but he's not using... He's using a little twang, but not a ton. In other words, it's not leads me to nowhere. You might be tempted to go there. Leads me to nowhere. There's definitely some of that going on, but when I'm that extreme with it, I miss the essence of what he's doing in the line. This is important. There's a lot going on with his voice and his tone that is biological in nature with him. And he's going to sound a certain way, and if we go too far in the imitation realm, we're just going to sound dumb. So what I suggest with him, leads me, relax, use a little bit of compression. If you haven't seen my video on compression, be sure to check it out. Leads, not leads me, but leads me to nowhere. Leads me to nowhere. Compression leads me to nowhere. As opposed to open, leads me to nowhere. That's open and that's very little compression. Dial the compression up a little bit, bring your larynx up, and then think a tiny bit of twang. Leads me to nowhere. And then way behind the beat. Leads me to nowhere. I love how he slides up on that pitch too. Nowhere. One of the most iconic, especially live. This next one is so awesome. Rooster! Now, here's the first example when he gets gritty. Listen to this pitch. Now, there's doubling going on in the recording. We have to remember that too, because that's going to confuse timbre a little bit with his voice for sure. The doubling makes it sound smoother than it actually is and bigger than it actually is. Just keep that in mind. But he's smooth. Rooster, yeah! That's not very high. And he's clean here, rooster, and then kicks it in for the yeah. How do we get that sense of intensity that he's getting while still being relaxed and not being super high? And that's this is the main thing that really confused me over the years with Mr. Staley, because as I would practice Chris Cornell and some of these other guys, grit it has always been easier for me to get using some of the things I've talked about on this channel, using the break, using vocal fry. It's been easier for me to really dial in once I get closer to where I naturally break. And if none of that made sense to you, be sure to check out some of my other videos on mixed voice and how to get grit and sing aggressively without killing your voice. In this case, here's what I like to do to make sure I'm dialing it in and getting the feel right so I can get gritty lower. I take it higher first. And you don't have to do this all the time. It's just when you're learning a line and when you're trying to dial in a certain sound and a certain kind of intensity and a certain key, this is a great way to work. And I have Layne Staley to thank for discovering how to do this. Yeah! Hit the note clean first. The rooster, yeah! I'm just getting the notes. That's it. I'm not thinking about placement or anything like that. Yeah! Now, I'm not even going to try to grit that up because I know that if I do, since it's low, a chest resonance note that is lower. I mean, I can hit that note in chest resonance clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up. Rooster, yeah! Where I start to get into that mixed flavor. I'm going to make my voice break, and I'm going to experiment with fry, like you've seen me do in many other videos. Yeah! Get that fry sound. Now, that doesn't hurt my voice at all, but it's a lot higher than what he's doing. Then, I'm going to think down, and I'm going to gradually go down once I get that feel. I'm going to widen my mouth, bare my teeth, all while bringing the pitch down. Yeah, there's my target pitch. Yeah. So I dialed in that gritty pitch all the way up at and now I'm going to think down on it. Now I've got, and I widen my mouth and I grit my teeth in the context of that, and my voice is fine. I didn't feel anything. That's how I've had to deal with these lower gritty notes. Now, once I have that feel, and I've done that a couple times, I've warmed up my voice and my brain to think better about approaching this particular phrase. He has that subdued yet aggressive nature. And what I did is, rooster, yeah! That's not really the essence of what he's doing, even though I've got the grit. It's too much. So let's try to get this grit without being so annoyingly aggressive at these pitches. The rooster, yeah! The rooster, yeah! The rooster, yeah! The rooster, yeah! There, it's getting there. The rooster, yeah! The rooster, yeah! So you can hear what I'm doing. I'm leaning into that note. I'm thinking high. I'm making my voice break a little bit. You can even hear it a little bit on rooster. And then I'm easing into that note. Instead of rooster, yeah! It's rooster, compression, think up, think break, and then ease into that unsettled area. Next. Now we have a chance to get a little higher and continue with what he's doing on that. Yeah! 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 Now here we have the... Let's get it clean first. No, we ain't gonna die. Now for me, this is easier to sing in that relaxed, broken up sound because it's higher. And I've trained to engage my mix and add grit in higher areas. It's just more comfortable for me. That's probably not the case for everybody, but certainly something I need to be aware of when I'm singing some of these songs. Relax, relax. No, we ain't gonna die. That nice smooth vibrato at the end there. Now remember, this is doubled, so there's some layering going on. No, we ain't gonna die. No, we ain't gonna die. I do like how he opens up on that I. That there's the essence of that line right there. Die. No, no. Leads us to our next one. No, compression, no. This is important. No, sometimes he goes to the no, we ain't gonna die. It's not that important that you're nailing a particular pitch on that break to the head voice, but what a cool artistic thing here, right? No, this is more possible breaking from that compressed chest sound up to the head voice. You have to get your compression dialed in first so that that break exposes itself. If I'm just doing this, no, we ain't gonna die, I lose that articulation. But if I've got no, we ain't gonna die. Larynx position up, highly compressed, clean chest, break into that note. No, we ain't gonna die. Die. That larynx up position's important there. Die. It's not die, bright die. Die. No, we ain't gonna die. Remember to use moderation, though, when it comes to that twang and the voice box position and all that stuff. Don't force it. All right, moving on to a different song. Lots of great examples from Rooster. Be saved. Such a clean sound, highly compressed, highly relaxed sounding again. Be saved. It doesn't sound like it, but it's very compressed. Let me give you a couple different examples here. Be saved. Larynx dropped. That's not what he's doing. Be saved. That just sounds dumb. If we compress more, bring that larynx up. Be saved to the point of compressing so much we're almost gritting. Be saved, but we're not, because he's clean there. When you listen to him throughout Down in a Hole and throughout a lot of other songs, there is this teetering on fry that's happening. That's because he's using a lot of compression in his regular old chest voice. And then that wonderful trademark vibrato, I'll cover that in a minute. Say, back off a little bit. Saved. Say, be saved. I am pushing a ton from here, and I'm holding back air. And it sounds like it's on the verge of grit, but still clean. Such a cool sound. Now, as far as vibrato, he's letting that happen. He's not overthinking it. And I've covered this in the Jeff Buckley video that I did. This sense that he's holding out a note, saved, and he's throwing his voice on that articulation, saved. And then, if you think a little bit ghostly at the end, vibrato in this case is sort of like he's just throwing his voice over and over again. Say the same method or consciousness that he's using to articulate. Save is the same he's using for vibrato. He's just centering on the pitch. Saved. Make the pitch. Saved. and practice bouncing that voice box up and down. The key is you have to get into this relaxed, going with the flow zone so that you don't have too fast of a vibrato. Now, part of that is going to be that we're getting that bounciness from here. We're not getting it from changing our airflow. That's very important. It's not saved, save, or I can feel my stomach. That doesn't sound right for what he's doing. Saved. It's subtle, it's bouncy from here, and it comes from learning to time that bounce, just like we're timing articulation, in a way that is not involving changing our airflow. Try to see it once my way. From Wood. Try. He's lagging that word. There's more of that wonderful laid back, subdued sound, even in the midst of this aggressive thing. Aggressive is not really even the right word for it. I'm not even sure what to say there. Then he gets on top of it there. My way. Try to see it once my. Now there's that sense of twang and that raised voice box there. Try to see it once my way. Lots of compression the whole time. If you listen carefully on once, there's a little bit of grit coming out. That's from that hyper compression. Try to see it once. A little bit happening there too. Try to see it once my way. Be inspired. Let it happen in your own voice in its own unique way. Try to see it once my way. But be relaxed while you're doing it. That's the key in all these examples. Try to see it once my way. It's not. Try to see it once my way. That's too prog rock. That doesn't work. It's. Try to see it once my way. Hypercompression, relaxed, let the grit happen. Moving on. Love this line. Now here, he's almost in parody mode of, I don't know necessarily what he's parodying. Maybe he's parodying his own tone a little. I don't know. But it is extreme. So we should be extreme. Yeah. So what I'm doing there. I've covered this sound in other videos. There's this one. See my video on built-in tone control. I've got my the back of my tongue lowered and my soft palate is raised. And he's doing the opposite of that. He's got his soft palate lowered and the base of his tongue raised. But it's happening back, and it's happening independent of any vowel formations that are happening, which in this case is just, you know. Still a ton of compressions happening, though. That twang, when it's lower like this, it just sounds tacky, twangy, sort of closed. It does sound very nasal. We're making a lot of use of our nasal cavity, which he does a ton of. Great nasal resonance in what Layne Staley sings all the time. But when you're doing that in this range, it just has this harsh, cool, fooling around sound. And because of that hypercompression, he's always on the verge of there's a little bit of breakup happening. It's not overstated at all. It's very understated. Listen to his timing. It's very laid back. Whoa! It's just the notes. Won't you come in? He's going to carry over this sound a little bit more. Listen to it, the way he pronounces and uses his vowels. You come. Whoa. Won't you come and won't you come and won't you come and what I'm trying to do there by repeating it over and over again is getting the essence of the compression, the grit that he's getting while making sure that I'm not being overly aggressive, feeling or sounding. Won't you come and won't you come and save me? Save me. Next. He's saying the word free, but he's messing with the vowel. Free! There's the pitch. Free! Now this is a fun one because it's higher. Free! Eyes, bury your teeth, larynx up like we talked about. Let's work on that high pitch. Free, free, free my eyes. I'm not relaxed enough on that low note. Free. There we go. Free my eyes. Ooh. This is a fun one to play with. Free my eyes. Smooth it out a little. Free. To me, when I'm trying to keep it cleaner, now that my voice is kind of warmed up and I'm in that Layne Staley mode, I actually sound, the way I'm articulating the differences in pitches, I sound too aggressive. Part of what he's able to do is rest in that grit, in that fry, and truly rest in it. Add a hint of laziness to his fry. So fun. Good example of his lower chest resonance. Privacy is raped. So down, so low key. While still maintaining a lot of compression. Privacy is raped. And if you watch him sing on MTV Unplugged and really any live thing, he does have this sense that he has this position with his mouth. with his face. That helps that bright factor. Whereas, Chris Cornell really doesn't open his mouth that much, particularly in his lower stuff. He's more, privacy is raped. Whereas you get privacy is raped. So Layne understands the idea that he's getting his face out of the way in order to create that brighter sound between that and his higher larynx position. And yet I find. These are the great cool down lines, I think, from some of the stuff that we've done, centering yourself back on the essence of what his voice does, which I've talked about a lot in this video. But being present, being just what the song needs, not being aggressive, but there's this sense of pent-up energy there. And a lot of that's compression, a lot of that's just his attitude and the way that this music works. And yet I find, 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 and yet I find. I have so much fun with these videos. Thanks for watching. Again, if you want to take your voice further, be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. And leave your comments, questions, and suggestions below. We'll see you for more.